I hope answer a lot of your questions around the idea of offer creation, because there's a number of you that have asked about that. Part of this is in response to some of you that are in the anthology and in the summit, and you're wondering about offer creation. But I know that this is kind of an ongoing theme for authors, especially authors that are pivoting or looking to create something new, something that aligns more with their skills, your desire, your values, things of that nature. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go kind of into a deep dive into this idea of offer creation. And I'm going to, at different points, some of this is going to directly apply to a simple offer to create for the summit, or a simple offer to create for, say, you're wanting to build a lead magnet, or you're wanting to build your platform, or you're wanting to get email addresses, etc. Some of it I'll try to relate directly to that. And some of it is going to be a little higher concept, a little bit, maybe taking a few steps back for those of you that are just in the initial offer creation stage or pivoting from your book stage. Okay. So if you don't, first, let me say this. If you don't have an offer at all, and you're in the middle of writing your book, you're writing a book about your expertise or your story and how your story impacts and can potentially influence people, et cetera, you have zero idea at all about your offer, you're actually in a really great place. And let me share with you why. You have total freedom. You can do anything you want to do, right? You don't have a business or something that at the moment you're trying to build around and that you always have to keep in the back of your mind. When I started bestseller publishing, which is now 14 years ago, I had already done a couple of book offers and helped a few clients do books before I even started the company. Because at that time, you guys know some of my story, so I won't go into great detail. I had written my book about 16 years ago for my financial services company. It really blew up, and people started asking me, hey man, can you help me do a book? Do you think it would work for me, etc.? And so I started doing some coaching of people, and I started doing some done for you services. And I really didn't know what the next step for me was. I had sold my financial services company, or it was going through the process of sale. And I was actually pivoting. I was making a decision at that point, which direction I want to go. I wasn't 100% sure that I wanted to go into the ghostwriting, publishing, book launch space. I was actually thinking about going more in the direction of coaching. I had total freedom to do whatever I wanted to do. I was in a great spot. I actually made a few different offers. I started working with some people in the coaching space. I enjoyed that. I started working with some people in the book space. I enjoyed that a lot more for a number of reasons. And they're different, perhaps, for you, how you would feel about these things than I do. But they aligned with my values. I felt really awesome about delivering something tangible to people. That was meaningful to me. And I think meaningful to the people that I was helping. It felt so good to have an end where they have a book, and that book is a bestseller. And that book now can position them for whatever it is that they're looking for, speaking engagements, et cetera. That aligned with me more than the coaching did. And so I went in that direction. The point that I'm trying to make initially, if you're not 100% sure what your big offer is going to be, I'm not talking about a lead magnet or something associated with say, a summit or with building an email list, et cetera. But from a big perspective, from an overall perspective, you have total freedom to create your offer that's going to lead to your business. And you need to think in terms of creating that based on your skills, based on the love that you have within you of what you want to do, who you want to serve, et cetera. I'll talk more about that in just a second. But if you're struggling with, I don't know exactly what my pivot looks like, I'm here to tell you, you're in a great spot. Don't be discouraged. Don't think, well, I'm not 100% sure what I'm supposed to do. You'll figure it out if you take some steps in that direction. And that's what I did. I tried this. Both were pretty cool, but one clearly was the direction that I should go in. And, some 2,000 clients later and $30+ million in revenue leads me to believe it was the right choice. Okay. So let's talk for a minute about what an offer is. And let me give you some direct examples. I posted this in our private Facebook group, but I'm going to go ahead through this so that you understand from a meta perspective what an offer is. So video editing is a service. If you were an expert video editor and you loved video editing, that is a service. It is not an offer. 1 million views guaranteed on your video, that is a killer offer. Now, you may say, well, I don't know how to get 1 million views. Well, if you did, and you could do video editing and guarantee that, that is a killer offer. Being a video editor is not. Doing done-for-you cold email, that's a service, okay? That's a business that you can perhaps have, but that's not an offer. An offer is, we help you sign 5 clients a month with cold email and do it all for you. Now, let me take a step towards what a lead magnet or what something associated with the summit or maybe with paid ads to get people to take their first step, what that may look like. Okay. So let's go back to the million views guaranteed as an offer. If you could do that for somebody, and you were an expert video editor or you were an expert at driving traffic to video, a way to get somebody to take that initial first step would be something like, I can get you 1 million views guaranteed on your video. Here is my 11-step checklist for every video that I do that we get 1 million views for. Would you like my 11-step checklist? Well, if somebody wants their videos to go viral, they're going to be very interested in your 11-step checklist. So creating a simple checklist of what your bigger offer is a great way to help people to take that initial first step with you. In the same way, if you were doing that done for you cold email as a service, we'll help you sign up 10 clients per month guaranteed. Your first step or lead magnet or way to get people to be attracted to you and put their toe in the water to see if it's warm might be something like, we help our clients get 10 new customers a month with cold email with this 3-step funnel design. Here is my exact 3-step funnel design. Put your name and email address in and I'll send it to you, right? So now for a name and email address, they're going to see the 3-step funnel design that you use to help people get 10 clients per month using cold email. Okay, so all we're trying to do with this idea of a big offer, 1 million video views, helping somebody get 10 clients with cold email, is whether it's on the summit or whether it's something else that you're doing, you just want them to take one small step towards you. And so that might be a cheat sheet, a checklist, something that you use to get that end result for somebody. Okay. Now, in some ways, what I've done just now is I've given you an overview of what I want to talk about for the next, 20, 30 minutes or so. And of course, any questions that you have, feel free to type them in and I'll go back and do and answer them all. But I want, and if you have something where you're struggling, like here's my skills and my expertise, and I'm not sure what, how I can help, type all that stuff in. Maybe we'll have time to go a little bit deeper and see if we can help specifically. What I want to do for the next few minutes is I want to kind of share with you in an overall sense, how to step by step go from nothing, I'm not really sure what my offer should be, or I'm not really sure what my lead magnet or the first step that people should take towards me. And I want to go step by step with you on how to create that. Some of these are going to be very deep and they're going to be applicable to those of you that aren't even sure what direction you want to go in. Others of you that know you already have a business, you already have a very successful business, and you're just looking for some tweaks, some ways to attract more people into your funnels, et cetera, with your book, et cetera, then I'm going to be talking to you as well. But all of this is going to be together because I know I have people at all ends of the spectrum that are watching this right now. Okay. So bear with me. Some of this will be applicable to you. Some of it may not. So here's step by step how to create a grand slam industry dominating offer and also get people to take that first step towards you. We would call that a lead magnet, or we would call that, some type of opt-in so that you can begin having a two-way conversation with people. Okay. So step one is who. It's always who. Who is it that you serve if you're already in business, or who is it that you want to serve if you're pivoting in your business? Okay. Using my example from a few minutes ago, I knew that I loved serving business people. I loved serving people that were business minded. I loved helping people that, wanted to go to the next level in their business. And I was trying to figure out, is that going to be via coaching, or is that going to be via helping them to do a best-selling book, helping them to do both of those things? I was very quickly able to align that with the rest of the things that I'm going to share here in a couple of minutes. So the first thing you start with is, who is it that you want to serve? Okay, so define who the person is that you want to serve. Now, you may say to yourself, well, I don't know how to do that. Like, I'm not 100% sure what my offer is going to be. I'm not 100% sure what the pivot is going to be. So how can I define who it is if I don't even know what it is that I want to do? Okay, so let's take a step back for those of you that are still figuring out that piece of it. So ask yourself a couple of questions if you're in that kind of mode. What is it that you love doing and that you would do for people for free if you had the time and ability and energy to do that? Look, I know some of you are primarily writers, right? You love writing. You've written fiction, you've written children's books, and you want to monetize that. Well, clearly you can monetize that by creating a lot of content and getting people to buy those books on Amazon and pay you royalties. I get it. But that's, as I've shared many, many times, that's a hard road, right? You've got to create a lot of books. One book isn't going to do it. Two books isn't going to do it. You've got to create 3, 5, 7, even that many a year. I shared with you about Margie Shard, who now does over $1 million a year in royalties alone. She created 46 books in the first 3 years. She went from financial advisor to fiction author. She now does over $100,000 a month in just royalties. That's because she wrote 46 books in 3 years. Now she writes 7 books a year. And she has a huge audience, obviously. And by the way, this has only been the last 4 or 5 years. This is all very new for her. So it can be done, but it's going to be done with a lot of content. So then you say to yourself, well, I don't want to write 46 books in 3 years. That sounds horrible. Okay, I got it. It's very hard to write one book, let alone 46 books in 3 years. If you love writing, why don't you do that for other people? You can do that 100 different ways. You don't have to write books for other people. Right now, I pay a company to help me to write articles for LinkedIn, not to mention the number of writers that I have on our team that help people to create books, etc. Do you know that there are tens of thousands of people that are writers and love writing, and all they do is write articles for social media by interviewing people? I just hired somebody that's going to be writing a newsletter for me. That person's going to interview me once a month to talk about the things that are most important on my heart, and that newsletter is going to go out to you guys, to my current clients. It's going to be a physical newsletter that we're going to mail to you. And it's going to be a product of this interview that I do with this writer, as well as a number of other things like featuring some of our best-selling authors, some of you featuring our staff, our team members, etc. So this is going to be a newsletter that goes out. So I am paying him monthly to interview me and to pull that information out to create a newsletter for it. You can do, if you love writing, there are tons of people that you can serve in that space that aren't in the book writing space, that don't need a ghostwriter for a book, but that need a ghostwriter for social media content, newsletters, et cetera, LinkedIn, Facebook, all that. Business owners should do that. Business owners should create content for social media. And if you love writing, there's a business for you. That's an offer, or at least that's a business, and then you can define what the offer looks like. So ask yourself, what is it that you love doing that people need? And then match up your skills and your experience with it. Remember what I told you in the beginning. If you're not 100% sure of what your offer is, you're in a great place. You can do anything that you want. And then you can pull the plug on it if you don't like it. You don't have to lay off 20 people. It's just you. You can say, that's no fun. I'm going to go in a different direction. Cool. You can do anything you want to do. So just start doing so you can kind of figure that piece out. So the first step is the who. And if you don't know the who and you're further back than that, then think about you. What is it that you love doing? How does that match up with your skills, your experience, your expertise? And is there a need in the marketplace for that thing? And I bet you that there's just about anything that you typed in the chat, we could find a fit into the marketplace. Then the whole point is, where do I find those people? So we start with the who. who it is that you want to serve, you need to also go a little bit deeper and actually do some research into that who. I always talk about this. If you're a coach to female entrepreneurs, there's only 10,000 successful coaches to female entrepreneurs. If you did a simple Google search and then search on social media and then started following those people, paying attention to what it is that they're offering the marketplace because they have great experience, then you could very, very quickly get some real market data about what's working in that marketplace, if that's who it is that you serve and want to serve. So it's like, if you already know what your thing is, your next step is to do a little bit of research, to study the marketplace, to see what it is that people are buying now. And then what you're going to do, we'll talk about this later, but you're going to differentiate yourself. You want to be different. You don't want to pretend that you're better than somebody that's been in the market doing this for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Maybe you're better, maybe you're not, but you can be different. And different, believe it or not, is better than better. People are looking for uniqueness and differentiation more than they are looking for better. Okay. So you're going to study the market. You're going to look at that. You're going to figure out what the market says and what your who is buying from other people. Remember, whatever business, whatever offer it is that you're making, companies are in business to solve problems. You are in business to solve problems. And the bigger problem you can solve, the more your offer is going to be worth. Okay. A checklist, a tip sheet, a PDF with your step-by-step, it's worth a name in an email. Fine. That's all you're trying to do, is get them to dip their toe in the water so you can begin a conversation with them. Watch a video, get to know you a little bit more, buy your book, etc. Those things are about dipping their toe in the water so they can get to know you more. That who and what their problem is where it all starts, okay? And if you don't know who that is because you don't know your offer, then you have to take a step back and you have to figure out, what is it that I love doing? Where do my skills and my expertise match up with that thing where people are actually having a need? Okay, that's step one. Step two, with that who, we now need to figure out where that who is. And we want to meet them in the right place and in the right context of their journey. So when I say where, I mean that in every possible way. I mean, where are they? Are they on social media? Are they on Facebook? Are they on Twitter? Is this kind of person not on Facebook or social media or Twitter? They're on LinkedIn instead. Where are they? What magazines do they read? What newspapers do they read? Do people still do that? What books do they read, right? All of that stuff. But I also mean, where are they in their journey of being helped by you? So using bestseller publishing as an example, we can help people pretty much all along their journey. But here is what I have found with people. I have found that unless somebody is extraordinary, exceptional, and I don't mean exceptionally great or rich or any of that. I don't know that I can even define what I mean by exceptional, but I mean that they are the exception to the rule. So let's take the exception out. Here's what the rule is. The rule is, most people that get started with us to write a book had been wanting to write a book for many, many, many years. And they've probably failed in many, many different ways. They've tried to write it on their own. They've tried to write it with a ghostwriter. They've tried to follow a guru. They've bought a course. They've done all of these different things. I know when it comes to the writing part that most of the people that come to me have been through a lot of ups and downs. Maybe even in some cases, they've written a very large check to a ghostwriter. I mean, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 and didn't get their book done or what they want. See, I know that because I've dealt with them and spoken to them. Now, I know there's some people also that have gotten their books completed. They've done their book and now they've come to me because they've tried to market it. They've tried to get reviews and they've been very unsuccessful at that. And so now we're solving that problem. So whatever it is that your offer is, you have to consider what it is that that person has already been going through. And I don't mean the exception, I mean the rule, right? The majority of them. In most cases, for me, the majority have tried and failed for many, many, many years. And that leads to a different conversation that's going on in their mind than somebody who's coming to me for the very first time that they've had a thought about writing a book, right? Now, there are the exceptional cases where somebody goes to a coaching group like Russell Brunson's Inner Circle and they speak to somebody else and they're like, yeah, Rob helped me do this book. And they're like, I always wanted to do a book. I'm going to talk to Rob, and they get started with me. That is the exception to the rule, though. That is not the rule. So I don't want to build my marketing around that exception. I want to build my offer around the rule, which is most of the people have been through a lot of ups and downs. They've even lost some trust. They even feel like, is this ever going to happen for me? So I want to speak to that person. I want to meet them where they're at in the decision-making process. And again, this is a place, going back to our summit that we talked about, this is a place where a simple checklist or tip sheet or three-step book funnel, or here's my enhanced ghostwriting model and how we do it. Here's where something simple like that can get people to take that first initial step and begin trusting, or at least getting to the point where they're going to make a decision whether or not they trust. That's what you want to do. You want to think about where they're at, because you're going to build your offer and you're going to build the communication of your offer around meeting them where they're at. Okay. Step number three. Step number three is the what. Okay, we went who, where, what. Step number three is the what. The what is, and again, I'm speaking in big terms first. The what is your product, your coaching, your offer, ultimately the big thing. But what it is it's the dream outcome. It's not your process. No one wants to buy your process, right? No one wants to go through the pain of a process, right? We want, to lose 20 pounds in the next 6 weeks without giving up cake, ice cream, and pizza. That's the ad. Why is that the ad? Because that's the dream outcome, right? Now, what's the reality? The reality is, there's a process. And it means that you're probably going to have to give up pizza, ice cream, and cake most of the time. But maybe you get it once in the next 6 weeks to lose that 20 pounds. The point is, you start with the dream outcome. As I shared in the very beginning of this, 1 million views guaranteed is an offer. That's the dream outcome that somebody wants. Video editing, I can help you with your video editing. Come on. Who wants that? I don't need help with my video editing. I want my video to go viral. I want it to impact a lot of people. Now, obviously, you have to be able to do that, but that's the magic. That's where the offer comes in, right? It's not about the service. So what does this mean? It means that when it comes to the what, you need to focus on the transformation. What it is that you're doing for somebody to help them be transformed. It's not just a product. It's not just a service that you're offering. It's a transformation. If we go back to something like writing, let's say that you love to write and you've written your book and you're writing more books and you'll continue to write more books, and you thought, well, I want to get some bigger checks. I don't want to get $5 royalty checks anymore. I want some bigger checks. Can I sign up somebody to $1,000 a month continuity program where I'm going to write for them? Absolutely you can. I know, because I've signed up for all these and I'm paying people now to do all these things. What is it that they're selling? I'll write 2 articles a week for you? No. What they're selling is the outcome that I'm looking for. And their outcomes, like the LinkedIn person that I'm working with right now, their outcome is looking at their LinkedIn profile and seeing the thousands of people that engage with every one of their posts, the thousands of people that have downloaded their lead magnets, the amount of organic content. And they're saying, look, I've done this for myself. I've done this for A, for B, for C, for D. I can do it for you. Now, is there a process? Yes. Do we have to write 2 articles a week or whatever it is? Yes. But it's the dream outcome that people are looking for. It is not your process that makes that dream outcome exciting. The dream outcome is the exciting part of this. There's some little nuances we can add to that, but let's just leave it at that for a moment. Now, again, a first small step would be for you to outline your dream outcome, whatever that is. We'll make your video go viral, guaranteed, right? Outline that dream outcome, and then take, your list of things that need to get done to have that dream outcome and give them one piece of that as, hey, an opt-in, as a lead magnet, right? That my 11-step checklist to help my videos go viral. Would you like a copy of that? Yes, here it is, right? My 16 a point checklist, my 16 steps to launch a book to bestseller. Would you like a copy of that, et cetera? That's as simple as a PDF, a tip sheet, a checklist, et cetera. Whatever it is that is the making of the sausage, right? People don't want to know about the making of the sausage. They just want, right, the sausage dinner or lunch. But whatever it is that you've done to make that, take a piece of that, the piece that, maybe sums it all up, or a piece that is the most enticing or sexy part of it. There is your first step of your offer, like for our summit or for any part of your book. Obviously, this all relates to your book as well. All right, that's step 3. What we're going to focus on the dream outcome, not our process and not the service itself. Step number 4. And this has to do with making an offer enticing. Honestly, to create an offer, those 3 things are really all that we need, but let's talk a little bit about making an offer enticing. Step number 4 is the why. And really, it's not just why, but it's why now. You want to create urgency, and ideally, you want to try to reverse the risk that people are taking. If you've been on any of my webinars, or maybe you're a client because you were on one of my webinars, what's the thing that I always do? Well, I'm always going to give some length of time where people can get their money back, guaranteed, right? Like for our manuscript or offer, you have 30 days to try Manny, to go to the coaching calls, to come to these calls, etc. And for any reason, on the 30th day, and people do this, you can ask for your money back, and no problem, we will give you your money back. In fact, I say to people, look, I wrote Write with AI in 2.5 days, right? If you were a bad person, I say, you could write a book and then get refunded on the offer. Like, you could do that if you were a bad person. Now, I specifically say being a bad person, right? Because it is kind of a bad person that would actually like get, the end result that they're looking for and then ask for a refund. But I let them know, like, look, I'm reversing all the risk. That's the point. The point is you have no risk here in this situation. So if your offer, like if you really are good at the thing you're doing, don't be afraid of creating a way to reverse the risk. The other thing that I mentioned is urgency. Create urgency in the offer. When we do the summit, there is going to be a point of time when they can no longer buy. We're going to say, hey, it's cut off from here. And so they're either going to have to do it during this time frame, or they're not going to be able to do it and get the bonuses or whatever it is that we're going to be offering any longer. We're going to create urgency, and we're going to reverse the risk so we can get as many people to test it as possible. You can do that exact same thing with your offer. You just have to be creative and think about what that looks like for you. And all you really have to do is look at what others are doing as well. That's step 4. Step 5, again, this is in the idea of making it more enticing, is when it comes to your offer, think about what else there is that your offer solves for people, or that you need to work on within your offer to ensure it really does meet all of their needs. You need to consider, what are all the alternatives to your offer? What could they do? There are many alternatives to writing a book with bestseller publishing. What other options are there? When you consider these things, then you have answers for those things. Also, when you consider what other problems they're going to encounter. Why do we have publish, promote, profit? Why did we not just stop with ghostwriting? Well, because once the book is written, they then have the problem of making the book successful, getting reviews for the book, launching it to bestseller, using it to get on media, using it to get clients, et cetera, et cetera. So in the same way, you want to consider what are the other obstacles or challenges that they're going to have. And those things then can become a lead magnet, or they can become part of your offer. Okay. Now, I know we've switched back and forth, and I want to go and answer any questions that you have, but I know we've switched back and forth to this broader idea of creating an offer when it's all brand new for you. You don't know what your business is. You don't know exactly what your pivot is. I've been there. I understand all of that. So I've tried to answer some of those things, but I also want to try to be as narrow as possible when it comes to like being practical. When it comes to the summit or when it comes to using your book, when it comes to attracting clients, you need to get people that have no idea who you are and just saw you for the first time on an ad or a social media post, and you need to get them to be willing to take the first step with you. And that first step might be as simple as a checklist or a tip sheet or something like that that drives them back to your book or drives them back to your business. That's what we want to do. We want to build that relationship and build that trust, because remember, we're meeting them where they're at right now. And in many cases, where they're at is perhaps a lack of trust because they've been abused by the marketplace, right? Somebody that wasn't as ethical as you or as honest or as trustworthy as you got to them, and they lost their money, they lost their opportunity, etc.